Good afternoon, everyone. I am Jonami Korea from Group 1. Today we will discuss about the Rizal prose and Philippine literature. Rizal as a writer wrote both prose and poetry with strong patriotism. Jose Rizal was not only a patriot but also a great writer of both prose and poetry. He wrote with style, charm, and deep patriotism, making his making his works powerful tools to awaken the national spirit. His writings showed his intelligence, creativity, and love for the Filipino people. Among his major works is No Limitangre and El Filibusterismo, the two novels, and Memorias de un Estudiante de Manila, his autobiography, and El Consejo de los Dioses, his allegory. Then, among his major literary works are his two famous novels. This is the No Limitangre in 1887 and El Filibusterismo in 1891, which exposed the abuses of the Spanish friars and the unjust system in the Philippines. Aside from this, he also wrote other important works such as Junto al Pasig, a play, and El Consejo de los Dioses, an allegory, and his autobiography, Memorias de un Estudiante de Manila, which he wrote under the pen name P. Jacinto. Rizal also became known for his essays that tackled the conditions of the country and the Filipino people. Some of the famous are Sobre la Indolencia de los Filipinos, on the indolence of Filipinos in 1890. Second, Filipinas dentro de 100 años, the Philippines a century hence, in 1889 to 1890. And Sobre el Teatro Tagalog, on Tagalog Theater. Fourth is Los Frailes y los Filipinos, the Friars and the Filipinos. Sa kababaihang taga Malolos, to the young woman of Malolos in 1889. He also wrote legends and folk style, such as The Monkey and the Turtle and Maria Makiling, which remain popular today. Aside from this, Rizal was a poet who wrote no fewer than 40 poems throughout his life. His letters and correspondence, written in Spanish, German, French, Tagalog, and English, further prove his wide knowledge and mastery of languages. Rizal also worked as a translator. He translated the Italian story of San Estequio Martyr into Spanish, and Friedrich Schiller's William Tell from German into Tagalog. Through all these writings, novels, essays, poems, legends, and translations, Rizal proved that his pen was as powerful as any weapon. His works inspired Filipinos to open their eyes to oppression and fight for reason. We have here the No Limitangre in 1887, exposes the hypocrisy and abuses of Spanish friars and officials. Story of Crisostomo Ibarra and Maria Clara set against the backdrop of colonial oppression. Considered the greatest Filipino novel compared with world classics, Uncle Tom's Cabin, Resurrection, aimed to awaken Filipinos to the injustice of society. Jose Rizal novels stand as the two of the most important works of Philippine literature because they reveal the harsh realities of Spanish colonial rule and inspired the Filipinos to fight for their rights. Moni ang novel nga No Limitangre in 1887. It's considered Rizal's greatest literary masterpiece and one of the best novels ever written by a Filipino. It is a powerful and bold denunciation of the injustice, abuses, and corruptions of the Spanish friars and officials in the Philippines. Through its vivid characters like Sisa, Elias, and Filosopotasio, Rizal portrayed the sufferings of the Filipino people under oppression. So, this novel was so effective and realistic, it immediately weakened the moral authority of the Spanish clergy and helped hasten the downfall of Spanish power in the Philippines. So, critics even compare it to great international works such as Leo Tolstoy's Resurrection, Harriet Beecher Stow's Uncle Tom's Cabin, and Hervey Allen's Anthony Adverse because of its social impact and powerful message. So its main characters is Crisostomo Ibarra and Maria Clara. Symbolize the love of country and the hope for reform. So we have here the El Filibusterismo in 1891. The sequel to Nolo Me Tangere focuses on Simon Ibarra in disguise who seeks revenge through revolution. The themes here is vengeance, corruption, failed revolution, and sacrifices for the nation. So, we all know that El Filibusterismo in 1891, on the other hand, is the sequel to Nole Me Tangere, but much more darker and more revolutionary in tone. In this novel, Ibarra returns under the disguise of Simon, a wealthy jeweler who secretly plans to overthrow the Spanish government and avenge the wrongs of the past. So, unlike the hopeful Nole, the Philly is filled with anger and despair, showing Rizal's shift from reform to revolution. Simon's grand plan to rescue Maria Clara from the convent and use of the dynamite to kill Spanish officials tragically fails, partly because of Basilius' untimely warning and Isagani's desperate act of heroism to save innocent lives. So, wounded and hopeless, Simon flees and takes refuge in the home of Padre Florentino, a kind native priest, where he finally confesses his true identity before dying. So, through these novels, Rizal successfully exposed the deplorable conditions of the Philippines under Spain. So, he also created unforgettable characters like Jolie, Basilio Isagani, and Paulita Gomez, who reflect the different struggles of Filipinos during that time. So more than just story, the Nole and Philly awakened the national consciousness and inspired the Filipino people to stand up against injustice. So untimely fueling the Philippine Revolution. So Rizal's writings were not just artistic expressions, but also powerful tools of social awakening. Through his characters like Kabisang Tales, Senor Pasta, and Padre Florente, as well as ideal figures such as Sagani, he exposed the abuses of Spanish officials and friars and painted the sufferings of ordinary Filipinos. At the same time, he showed models of patriotism, sacrifice, and hope. With these characters, Rizal aimed to awaken a sense of national pride and inspire Filipinos to work toward freedom and independence. So Rizal himself made his purpose clear in a letter to his close friend Dr. Ferdinand Blumentritt. He said that he was not writing for glory or fame, but for the love of his country. So he wished that Filipinos would also be willing to set aside personal interest, honors, and material gains, and instead dedicate themselves to the pursuit of virtue and building of a truly free and independent nation. This shows that his prose was not driven by personal ambition but by deep patriotism. So when it comes to his novel El Filibusterismo, reflects the maturity of Rizal as a writer. Yet, it is often said to lack some of the charm and beauty of Noli Me Tangere. The Philly is more somber and serious, focusing less on romance or light storytelling, and more on the harsh realities of social and political evils in the Philippines. Its characters are less active, with grace with greater emphasis on dialogue and ideas rather than actions, so which makes the novel heavier in tone. Because of its unflinching portrayal of injustice, the Spanish authorities accused Rizal of treason and rebellion. The truth, however, was that the book simply laid bare the painful reality of colonial society, which is why it had such a devastating impact. So, so we have here the Memorias de un Estudiante de Manila. So, Rizal's autobiography, written under the pen name P. Jacinto, provides a glimpse of his youth, sensitivity, and patriotism, translated into English as the young Rizal. So aside from novels, Rizal also wrote his autobiography, Memorias de un Estudiante de Manila, which gives an intimate view of his youth as a student in Manila. To avoid unwanted attention, he used the pen name P. Jacinto. This work was later translated into English by Leon Ma Guerrero and published under the title The Young Rizal. The autobiography reveals a sensitive and thoughtful young man, someone deeply reflective, sometimes melancholic, but also filled with prophetic awareness of his destiny. As Dr. Vidal Tan described, Rizal's youthful writings display his loving, sensitive nature, his sweet melancholy, and his prophetic awareness of the tragic end to come. Through this work, we see Rizal not just as a hero, but also as a human being who struggled, reflected, and grew during his early years. So, in all his prose works, Rizal emphasized that he did not write for glory or fame but out of love of his country. His characters, writings, and personal sacrifices aim to inspire Filipinos to value virtue, justice, and freedom over personal gain. That's all for today.